Hey yo, what's up everybody? It's Dan Tom here with the Protect Your Neck podcast. You may know me from such films as, just kidding, no Troy McClure joke here, but yeah, you might see me from MMA Junkie, do some work on the Action Network, still getting my prop together for the prop squad there. This week I'm going to give you guys what I got here for UFC Orlando this week as everybody is already piling in. Hey, let's go Bam Bam, the Aussie one. There, Mark Fellows in the chat. That's right, yeah. We'll talk about Barbarina, but the American Bam Bam was smart enough not to challenge Tuivasa to a drinking contest because let's be honest, no one can skull it quite like the Aussies. Much less a guy like Bam Bam who represents the indigenous people too as well, which is appreciated, Aboriginal. But yeah, man, he definitely comes from that side of the pond. And we'll be talking about both. Although I will say, shouts to Barbarino. You guys know I'm a Barbarino fan. We'll get to that, regardless of pick or prognostication here. But I did appreciate him challenging him to an eating contest because, not as small as I'd like to be. Although I've done a lot of work in that department, slowly creeping back up if I'm not careful during the holiday season. But as a kind of a smaller guy, right? I can eat with the big boys, man, and I'm not afraid to challenge the big boys to some eats contests. So I really appreciate that. Hopefully, you guys are, eating well. Maybe not, just be grateful to have food and the company you're with. That's what I mean. The general wellness of that. Hopefully, this time of year, that's what it brings, regardless of what you celebrate or don't. We got Rio Sosa and Truesdale in the chat. Mark and Dan Ty will always be a friend of Team Magnum. Nice. I don't know if you saw, but Whaley was carrying him as part of her workout back in July. Oh, yeah, that's right. Francis was not the first heavyweight she carries. That's right. Great shout there. Truesdale. Rain Lamina. The Tracy Cortez of consuming P-Easy. The Angela Hill of paying the hotel bill. The Amanda Ribas of rating Khabib at just an average rider failed on the last fun. I'm just glad you didn't walk me into anything there, Rain, because hashtag Burgundy will read what is on the teleprompter. I'm going to be a little more organized. Again, I'm still not getting complaints, which I guess is a good thing, but especially that I want to work more toward timestamps, more toward just an efficient product, especially since I've been having trouble getting you guys up to my standard this year, which, hadn't been, great results-wise, but I appreciate you guys hanging with me anyways. Doesn't mean I'm not trying to do better. Going to be a little more organized with the comments. I think we'll do some off the top. If it's a big fight that I spend a lot of time on, or, talking about things that require, engagement or feedback that I requested. Of course, I'll drop into the chat to try to see what you guys say. So maybe after main events as well, co-main events, then, I guess aside from those big fights, maybe I will just wait, hold off and, between the main card and the prelims, do a little bit of a chat cleanup if it gets popular, which is a good problem to have. Won't be able to get to everybody. I am literally 20 hours away from getting the watch hours to finally monetize this. Not that I will, not prioritize anybody. Again, just like I'm going to keep that same energy. Just like, even if I did have a Patreon, I wouldn't keep my picks in place from you guys behind a paywall or anything. Same with the questions here, even though the donations will be appreciated and the way YouTube is fixed and the algorithm stuff, it will prioritize your questions, yes. But I'm still obviously going to give love, especially to the usuals. So don't worry. Once that monetization happens, it's not some thing that I'm going to enforce. But it will make it a little maybe easier to parse, I guess. And then, of course, at the very end of the episode, I'm going to go through and clean up as best I can, depending how we did on time permits. So let me know how that sounds to you guys, and apologies in advance if I do mess up something in the cleanup there. Last two, because I see my man Alvin Yakatora. I got to shout out to my guy Mike's MMA Picks. I got to set the tone with some positive tone from Alvin Yakatora. But I got my man James Kendrick, Dan Tom here because Ghost retweeted, and most of us are part of his weird cult. Man, I appreciate Ghost. I got to really get with that guy. He's only geography-wise, I believe he's in Arizona, so I think he's only a state lower than me. Ghost Phantom, if you ever go to a Vegas show, hit me up, buddy. But, I meet so many cool people through here, and I appreciate Ghost, especially if he is a gateway to more of you. Then we got lastly but not leastly here, we got Alvin Yakitori, my man. Mr. Tom would like to tell the chat to encourage all fighters to do their best and come out healthy whether or not they are fans of them. A small bit of encouragement can help anyone. Yeah, basically saying, regardless if you're fans of them, give them, encouragement. I think that's a great note there, let them know that, with technology and all these things, I was hoping, these tip of fighters and these QR codes, maybe let the fighters have QR codes on their shirt and like do stuff like that. I'm always, definitely would support fighters in any of those ventures. But yeah, it back to things that don't cost anything. Kind of my message, and Alvin's reiterated in a different point. We can practice it. Like, yeah, that doesn't cost much money too. Just to like not be a shithead. Maybe say something nice like. I know that fighters aren't the best at not fighters. It's just like human nature, right? Like we remember the negative more than we do the positive. So, but yeah, it probably helps even if the fighter doesn't realize it helps. Even if they're still I know like Anik would always give Felder crap because Felder would get a bunch of positive engagement, but you never see him interact with it. You only see him interact with the negative, whether it's on Twitter or like throwing shade when he's like doing commentary. And I'm like, man, I hope Paul's seeing all the love he gets because the dude gets a lot of love, deservedly so. So, kind of like one of those things. So yeah, just throw them love, man. Or knows they get enough shit. Jin Karasu, what's up, man? How's it going, buddy? Thank you guys. Give this a like, by the way. I'm gonna get this shared out, and then we will continue on. Luckily, we did a big recap show, so there won't be many recaps. The shouts and Amazon read-through list is short this week, so. I shouldn't be taking too much time there. But again, with the chat format and despite doing my best, we'll see where we end up today. Of course, we're going to break it down from top to bottom. When I say timestamps, I usually will timestamp where I start the card and I go from top to bottom and I recap all my picks and plays at the end. So even though I am not like a lot of the up-to-date shows like I should be as far as those nice little YouTube timestamps, most of those shows still don't really recap their picks and plays, I think. So, like, at least, so I do have that. So, I'm going to get this shared out. Appreciate you guys again. And if you're listening to this in the future on podcast form, Apple 5-star ratings and reviews are really appreciative. That's the main place. It's on other places like Podbean. You can get smartphone-friendly players that play on your iPhones and whatnot at mixedmartialanalyst.com, which hosts this here website. But yes, I do need to get on the Spotify's and this and that. And finally, hopefully this next year, the game plan is to get this computer fixed. And because I'm not getting a new computer anytime soon, which also means that I will expedite other projects as soon as before I'm getting this computer fixed. Regardless, I'm going to try to tip it over the edge with this last show. We got the pay-per-view next week. I can either complain about not, having places to commentate, stream, do event shows, whether it's digitally or in person, and I'm working on doing that, by the way. We'll see, hopefully on a local level here. I've been in talks for that, and that'd be great because I was talking to my guy James Lynch. He's like, what, you still haven't commentated an event? How have you not commentated? I'm like, I know, right? Like, you'd think, but that is like a bucket list, so maybe if next year I get back in the cage, after recently getting this itch scratched or not awoken, not fully scratched again, and realizing the monkey's on my back, so I got to scratch that. That would be really fucking cool, man. Get a win in the cage and call sports, something that I've wanted to do since like the early '90s and shit. So it's like, again, I'm trying not to let I apologize for the shit results this year, guys. I definitely have not been great there. And as you guys have seen, it's there are a lot of bad beats in that equation, sure, but there's bad bets too. There's a bunch of shit, right? Things beyond our control, life. There's so much good things I think waiting in 2023 that I'm gonna push through here. So I don't know about finishing strong. This year's already shat enough that I can't finish really strong, from fun things like Tout Master to my own betting records here. So I get this shared out, but yeah, just want to get through this year, man. It's been a lot, 6-month camp, the whole just another year in MMA, and then just a bunch of stuff. Needless to get into, just the hits keep coming. Didn't even talk about the car accident I was in last week, but like, yeah, it's just like it's yeah. There's no like I was talking to a friend last week too. They're like, it's gotta. I'm like, that's what I've been saying. Yeah, as gamblers say, you're due. We'll see. I don't know. A lot of people deserve a lot of nice things, and that's just life, man. So I'm not contributing anything new there, folks. So just trying to be optimistic toward next year. We're shared out, and to let you know that this week and next week are going to be the last weeks for breakdown shows. Again, Rudolph, part of it, Rudolph's not invited to the reindeer games, and part of it, Rudolph's fucked up in the head and doesn't feel like he belongs even when he does, and I'm trying to be better about that, folks. But yeah, I'm not really good at having like roundups and stuff. I've tried to, and bless the fine people who have came on in the past, and I'm sure will be willing to come on again. I'm just, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what my categories are for Neckies. But yeah, I'm going to be missing Cannonier and Strickland, that card, the last UFC Apex card. I know. I'll be back home in Hawaii. Going to be back home in Hawaii for the first time in over 11 years where it's not for a funeral or for work. That's right. For over a decade, I have not been back home unless it's for a funeral and or work. So that's fun. That's fun. So yeah, I mean, there's that. I guess I deserve that, and I'm going to get that at least. But yeah, 2023 and the rest of this year, I'm going to do my best for you guys. So without further ado, people are piled in. Let's get to it. Quick shouts to, not official show sponsors, but I would give these guys a shout regardless because he's just a good dude, good product, and that is my guy D-Love. D-Loves _turmeric, as it's spelled _tonic. On Instagram. Go ahead and give them a follow. I know I've been trying to highlight things anyways, like my certain coaches and certain accounts that I want you guys to follow and go give love to. Speaking of my guy Alvin Yakitori, why not spread some positive stuff? It don't cost nothing. But if you do want to spend something that does cost a little something, not a lot, but well worth it, I assure you. It's my guys D-Love Turmeric Tonic. In fact, if you go to theturmeric.com, use the code PROTECT15, you get 15% off your first order. So, again, just a little health and wellness, and you save even more money off it. And it's good stuff. In fact, I'm bummed. I've got my last bottle over here. I got to order some more, and I was going to grab it. But I'm such a prepared podcast host, you know that. And again, mixedmartialanalyst.com supports this here program that will remain free, but there is a PayPal link on that, as well as at DanTomMMA, Dan_Tom_MMA if you want to find me on Instagram, which I usually don't plug, but trying to expand there. I know we had the recent Twitter scare that I didn't really, buy into despite my loathing for apartheid-loving folk. I didn't really get into that hubbub. I haven't really noticed a difference, to be honest, but you never know. And, I got more active on the Instagram anyways when I was going through my fight camp, so if you guys want to follow there. But in the link trees on both, mainly at DanTomMMA on Twitter, where I'm most active, at the PYN Podcast on all social platforms. Don't pollute your feed. You can also follow there. But yes, my link tree has the official PayPal link secure, as well as the website, mixedmartialanalyst.com, that supports this here show. You just go to the right, toggle, scroll down. It should be right there, and right below that, speaking of companies that aren't great, or I have maybe not the greatest owners or whatever, especially we got the Amazon and we got On It there too. But hey, I shop there too. I use the proteins and certain things that I honestly like better than others. Amazon, it's a necessary evil. I hate to say that because it's not necessary. There are ways around it, but I'd be a hypocrite and I'd be a liar if I said I did not use it. So I do use it. By the way, tip your delivery workers if you're using any of their special services that have gone to a rise in the pandemic to help folks out. But yes, if you want to spend no extra costs and support this here show, you just click through On It or Amazon banners. You go about your normal shopping, and a small percentage of your purchase just gets kicked back to this here program, which really does help. Keep this boat alive. So I'm gonna do my best to stay afloat, keep pushing forward. But I appreciate you guys clicking through. When you click through On It, to be honest, it actually pays me more, and I've gotten more from that link than the Amazon, which doesn't sound like it should be true, and nor should it be when you see the the difference in actual clicks, but Amazon is kind of just sketchy with how they do things, and I got to follow up on that, but it still does help. And when you buy through Amazon, it'll give me a list of what you guys bought. It won't tell me who bought it, if you so in other words, if you you want to have your David Carradine take a shot, repeating this joke, David Carradine one night in Bangkok, you don't want anybody to know about it. You want to buy the karate gi, the rope, the vibrating nunchucks, whatever you want to do, just have at it. There's a judgment-free zone here, folks. We went over this last podcast. No hate here. I will pontificate. I will make fun, but no hate. No hate. It's all in good love and nature here, folks. So, but yeah, whatever you want to buy, a small percentage will be kicked back. Somebody bought a Nutricost KSM 66 ashwagandha root extract. Ooh, that sounds tasty. Gel caps. Ashwagandha root. Sounds like you're taking you're getting into the realm that I exist in too, with my weird mushroom coffees and stuff, and that I drink, and I actually order those through Amazon, believe it or not. So yeah, I appreciate you ordering your stuff there. What do we got here? We got a Isitos. Is that how you say the brand? Electric mug. 12 O's. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Nice. I got mine here. Mine's a different brand. Some Chinese brand with the handle broken off because I dropped it. It still works. Hopefully, let me know how that works. Whoever bought that, seriously, because I gotta probably get a new one here soon. Someone bought Witten men's extra wide fit fashion barefoot sneakers with arch support. All right, I feel you on the arch support there. I feel you. Okay, yeah, that was a decent purchase there. I appreciate you thinking of me and going through the click-through. That's very, very much appreciative. Thank you for whoever that was. Again, holiday shopping, a lot of things are for sale right now. So if you want to think of me, maybe not think of me, don't think of me too much, especially not between the hours of 3 and 4. Lots of Willie's time. You think of this program, though, you can click through the link. Appreciate that. And lastly but not leastly, someone went on an anime spin here. It looks like they went with wow, this thing was like marked down 61% off, it looks like. Dragon Ball Z Kai. We also got Berserk. I'm not familiar with that one. Apologies, folks. I know if you want to stereotype, you're like, Dan, you should know about it. Like, no, I watched Dragon Ball Z, but like I watched everything from like Piccolo kidnapping and potentially molesting Gohan. I don't know what was edited out from the Japanese versions to our American versions. Gohan, and he would just do those weird like grunts. Yeah, the voiceover made it extra creepy. To probably about the Frieza era. Jesus, Dan, why do you have to sully every childhood thing that you fucking come across? I'm sorry, folks. But yeah, that's about the extent of my anime. What kind of anime knowledge was that? That sounds wrong. Akira, I'm familiar with Akira. Holy shit, that's like 60% off right now, and that's not a cheap. None of those were cheap purchases, to be honest. Some of these were sets of sorts. So, thank you for whoever was indulging their animes. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just calling out my own ignorance of it. So yeah. But much appreciated. So that's it for the Amazon reads, and let's get to this here. 18 or under 20 minutes. Let me just get a couple more on the chat, and then we'll get here to the podcast. Let's see. Jumbo saying, hello, my friends ask me who are some good podcasts to listen to. I always say WMMA Mania, Drake Riggs, shouts to Drake, and PYN and Jack Slack. If they like sarcasm, that's nice. I appreciate some Jack Slack. I'm not subscribed, but I've listened to some of his specialty shows and stuff before, and enough to know Jack does great work. Shouts to him. Saludos, Jesus. Hey, saludos, Jesus. Jimmy Kudo. Let's see. I will get to more specialized technique talk toward the end. I don't want to get too distracted here. I do want to get my guy Ghost Phantom, though, who you're mentioning. Jimmy Kudo. I know I see that technique question. I'll try to get that to the end. But speaking of Ghost Phantom, hey, Dan, what's good? Good to hang with you and pick your brain about technical stuff. Always good to hang with you and appreciate the shares, Ghost Phantom. And if you guys want to help give shares, I know I'm not the best at getting these out ahead of time, so that's... I saw me. Awesome me. But if you want to share, I appreciate it. Of course. Makoto Goku. Dan is the man and a friend of Team Magnum. Indeed. I rue the day my unbiasedness forces me to ever pick against a talent like that, But yeah, I appreciate the love from Team Magnum, and you guys know that you guys know I got love for y'all too. All right, I'm actually Ghost Phantom here says I'm actually from Cali, just like to go to Fight Ready in AZ because I like to learn their system. Alrighty, well, we are still neighbors there in that sense, and I got some new people here, so I want to give them love. Make sure. Hey, what's up, Dan? That's from Samuel Negrete, who's actually been here before. I remember you, Samuel. What's up? And Sammy Arnett. I was going to bring up something negative for you, but because of Alvin, I wish all the fighters well, and hopefully your picks and plays hit. Thank you. Wow. Well, I'm glad I popped you up on the screen before, seeing anything negative, so thankfully there was no, Kanye West messaging up there. Not that you were going to go in that direction, I'm just saying. I just saw a new name in there, so I wanted to give love, and look at you giving love in return, Sammy Arnett. Good on you. Good person. Good human being. All right, let's get to it. We're about 21 minutes in now, so let's go from top to bottom. We're going to be covering UFC Orlando. Of course, I got my in-depth breakdown up at MMAJunkie.com with the video written and all the like for Thompson versus Holland. It's funny, I got that out a day early, but I still didn't end up writing it until yesterday. There still ended up being a day gap between when I recorded the video and wrote it. It's just been chaotic. So apologies, folks. Everything going on, everything all at once, as usual with me. We'll just leave it at that. This fight I went into. The top two fights I did deep dives, and I only did surface level dives, but have some interesting stats, as you may have seen on Twitter. Did a Southpaw thread. For the relevant fighters in the card, I did not, revisit to see who is a southpaw on the bottom 3, possibly 4 fights, though I don't think Cortez or Hibash is. We will get to those. So, yeah, those, as per usual on the show, sadly, as you know, unless I've got a bet or a certain target, I go light on the analysis on those shows because I have to write up the main card, and I have to do, again, in-depths and have them in by a certain time. I can't just, post the bet on Twitter and pontificate or, do a surface level and record a pod. I actually got to do all this stuff plus the OCD part of it. It's not a fun process. I constantly try to whittle down and expedite, but not very good apparently. But yes, we got Kevin Holland minus 170, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson plus 145. Man, I know what you guys are thinking. This should be classic Dan Tom spot, packing the vet, back in the karate guy. You've been saying Holland, there's going to be a point to fade him because he's getting these crazy inflated odds. We're waiting for the right styles matchup. That all is true, but I was thinking more like of a wrestler at 170 because it's wrestle weight, and he's obviously had trouble with wrestlers at middleweight. So that's kind of more what I was waiting for, as well as a bigger number than minus 170, which means I don't want to say we're only getting, because this fight was opened as a pick'em, which I could see why. Totally, it just has a weird fight written all over it. So I don't want to say only plus 145. Plus money is plus money, right? But yeah, I wanted something more juicier to fade the Holland train, and I like Holland too. Just because I like Thompson a lot doesn't mean I don't like Holland. I really like Kevin Holland, the Smack Man. The Smack Man, want to get smacked by the Smack Man, and I love that he's reminding people, because something that I only usually remind people, especially when I put my breakdowns, that he's got a black belt, 2nd degree in Kung Fu. Not really black belts in Kung Fu, I guess. But you know how it is. Martial arts get belt ranks because that's the business Americanized kind of tradition. And in the defense of that business and hierarchy schemes, if you will, it really does give people things to work for and finds a place in their community. If it's a competitive martial art, which Kung Fu, it's not really. I mean, you're more into the Wushu side. And I don't know how much of that there was in America. It was really tough to find, which is some people like me had to do Chinese-based Kempo, or Shaolin-based Kempo, which was get the Japanese influence. We're wearing the gis again. I don't know what Holland's is. In other words, I can only speak to mine, but when you intermix with traditional martial arts and that brief, jumbled as it may have sound, sample that I just shared with you, as you can see, traditional stylings can kind of cross over. You know, you can see where certain things, Taekwondo is different than karate, and all are different from Kung Fu. You know, you get more hands and feet balance as you go from Taekwondo to karate over to Kung Fu. You also should get more fluidity over rigidity, perhaps less powerful looking shots too as well. But there's also crossovers there, and it was just funny that Holland kind of spoke to that. It's like, not going to get dazzled by that shit. And maybe he still will be, right? Because I think that, even though I'm picking Holland, I think Stephen Thompson's going to be schooling him and making Holland backers sweat with their tickets. You know, but these guys, back to the similarities, they have similar strengths and similar weaknesses, something I talked about in my breakdown video. Similar strengths as far as the intercepting punch, and I don't want to sound like woo-woo and woo-woo. But like, yes, it's you know, it's not just counter punching, not just particularly crashing counters, well timed, well placed, pinpoint accurate shots. There's just a real intercepting nature to Stephen Thompson's shots, right? The intercepting punch, if you will. And that's one of the things that you do get with karate and sport karate. More so with others. Traditional martial arts lack sparring. Sport karate lacks hard sparring, right? It has its own sparring limitations, but at least it has sparring. And what you get, even for as criticized as the versions of Stephen Thompson's sport karate to the versions of kickboxing. I think he did the Chuck Liddell version thing and whatnot, and not Chuck Liddell, Chuck Norris, sorry. And I'm not too familiar. It's funny, I don't want to say it's not as high level as Glory, because I saw some like clip of Joe Rogan and O'Malley flying around, and like they were kind of overblown. Because Glory's is weird, it makes a mixed bag. Like you'll get Artem Levins and shit, right? You'll get, you know, guys who just really are pretty good, and then really face other really good guys in there and become better, like Alex Pereira, right? But then you also have, like, and I'm not shitting on the guy, but it's just one of those things you bring, like Carl Roberson, right? Who, like, I think it was like, what is he, like 1-2, 0-3 or something? Like, oh, but his first fight was against Jerome LeBanner. It was like, well, it was old Jerome LeBanner, and even if it was old Jerome LeBanner, like Carl Roberson shouldn't have been in that fight, you know? And so in other words, it was for one reason or another. I don't know, and I'm not trying to pick on Carl, but I'm just throwing him as an example. You also get randoms getting mixed in there with, you know, high-level guys. Sometimes those random guys can win, and that could almost send their career even worse, because now they're just going to be fucking out of their food chain, fucking out of their weight class, right, so to speak. And that can be bad for them in the long term, kind of like guys who get to the UFC too early. So don't get too hung up on these kickboxing thing, folks. I think the safe assumption is just to be a negative Nancy on it and just not get too high on anybody's kickboxing accolades. I don't know if it's my guy Zane Simon. He says alphabet soup kickboxing accolades because it's just all letters and shit. But yeah, I obviously got love for the Kempo Karate base that I share with Stephen Thompson. And back to my original point is what you get even from those limited, whatever you can critique of the forms that he comes from, is you get a great sense of range management, because you just get the repetitions of attacks, punches, and kicks, varieties of punches and kicks. These are very varied martial arts. Even the more rigid Taekwondo that's limited to kicks, you're getting up kicks, spin kicks, axe kicks. You're getting, you know, maybe not the greatest punching techniques and combinations, but you're getting punches and combinations that you do have to be worried about as well. And at least two targets of body and head, even if, you know, legs are not allowed, whether, you know, Taekwondo, depending on the rules. What was it? Was it the PKG kickboxing from the 90s, I want to say, where they didn't allow you to attack the legs? I think that's like where Stephen Thompson and Ray Thompson kind of came from, that kind of era of things. But you just get that rate. You get all those different varieties, and you also get, you know, a lot of it have that lancing movement, that linear movement. So whether you're doing it or having opponents do it to you, it really just sharpens up your range awareness. Doesn't mean you're impervious, of course not. No, and as you play this speed game, as time gets on, Stephen Thompson gets hit more, and you know, seems to get hit harder. And when he did get hit, he already kind of got hit hard because he would have his hands down and be kind of moving in or out anyways, right? So yeah, there is that. And when he does get hit hard, aside from the 5th round knockdown that he sustained against Darren Fogentil, who of course is a southpaw, who just like religiously throws from his left side. Everything was counter right hands, right? Everything was counter right hands that stunned him. Even in the Rory McDonald fight, which was a really good fight for him, there was a really good, one of Rory's best shots was not his jab. It's actually his counter right hand. And what is Kevin Holland's modus operandi? What is his weapon of choice? It's that opportunistic right hand, whether it's coming forward and just, again, just inexplicably, just, whether he's coming forward or he can counter with it, he can come forward with it, he's accurate with it. But again, the descriptor that seems to work best is intercepting. He's very intercepting with that punch. And his speed, his defense, his output, and his process has all improved since dropping to welterweight. The speed is the thing that impresses me most because you never know how that's going to be. Is he going to, in theory, you could say he should look faster at middleweight because he's going against much slower and much bigger opposition. Now he's going against much faster opposition. But, Kevin Holland's his own admission is a lazy guy. He doesn't like training for the 5-round fights. He admits that he has issues with his pacing in 5-round fights and gas tank. Likes the fighting more than the training. Classic things of a fighter. But he's a fighter, baby. And people who do have those problems, at least in their prime, maybe when they get older, like BJ and Rampage, not so much. But while they are young, Holland only 30 years old, they can get in there and produce wins even under not the best of circumstances. And at this point of their career, I just think that Holland can afford to make more mistakes, and I don't think there's anything crazy from that. His style is frustrating as it could be for his fans. As that can be, it almost caters to making mistakes and being able to come back from those. His style is not reliant on winning rounds or even the majority of exchanges. And his resilience, his durability, his wacky intuitable flames, inflatable arms, Gumby-like as it is, it's there. He's hard. He's a hard guy to get out of there. I know he got out of there by Brendan Allen. Wrestled him out of there quickly. Stephen Thompson's not going to do that. Kevin Holland took that fight on short notice, coming back from a shoulder injury. But you never know what he's taking this fight under, because it just sounds like he wants to. And that's the thing. I was talking to somebody, I think it was the MMA analysis guys. Go ahead and throw a dart at the topic because this is kind of applicable everywhere. And this should be a hot topic with all the gambling talk right now, right, folks? But with the Derek Minner situation, right? It's that the circumstances that these fighters are going through, it's so hard. Like, for those of us in the know, none of this is a surprise. It's hard to predict how much reach or overreach these bodies are going to do because that's kind of their game. Whether they have good reason or not, they just love to fucking overreach. But this was a problem that was probably going to be run into and needed probably to be addressed, or was going to be addressed one way or another. If you look at other sports and whatnot, especially too, and just kind of how laissez-faire you see fighters just tweeting their bets, like even after this stuff was going down. You're like, come on, guys, let's not make it that obvious. A bunch of fighters, and I know obviously James Krause, the focus is on him, but there's a lot of coaches and stuff that do like betting podcasts, for example. It's like, whoa. What's going to happen there? It's a real interesting time. But something I was talking about in reference to like the circumstances, like, and maybe it was the Derek Minner situation, but like not just fighter pay, folks, but like you also look at it like we're coming around to holiday times, and so many fighters want to get in a fight before Thanksgiving, and not just before Thanksgiving, Americans, right? But before Christmas is the main one, right? Which is as it should be. Again, like I said last week, don't make me repeat, shit. And I already took a jab at Elon. I'm probably gonna have a bunch of messages for that. We have a billionaire alone. But like, I'm not a big Thanksgiving fan. Again, bad American here, folks. Not great. Not great at things you stereotype me for, right? Not great. I am not great. But like, so I get that. But like, a lot of people don't want to miss Christmas. That's a more global represented holiday, right? Than American Thanksgiving, right? Obviously, it should be, I guess. Not that I'm a big stan of holidays. I'm just saying, it is what it is. So a lot of people are trying to get that in so they can relax mentally, it's been a long year, not just for me or you folks. It's been a long year for everybody, for a lot of people out there. They're looking to just relax and decompress. But there's also bills that need to get paid. A lot of us are in debts of sorts. You've got, if you do celebrate these holidays, presents cost money, right? And these things. So you want to get those things in. And so essentially right now, you've got a lot of people who need money are going to be taking fights not in the best shape. Not with the best attitudes, which we'll get to perhaps with a heavyweight fight. Which, of course, you can guess what part of the card it's on because it's a fight night. It's not the Apex, but, it's still a fight night. They're keeping that same energy. These 185 openers and heavyweight anyways. Not that it's a bad heavyweight fight, and I actually like both guys, but we'll get there. There's a lot of people that, you don't know what you're betting on. Or, again, interviews can only be interviews, but right now, with this being noted, folks, if I'm getting that, I'm just showing up to get paid here. It's not making me want to put money behind you. I might not even want to pick you, right? So this is something we need to keep in mind, not just the, conspiracy theory, is he going to throw the fight? Is he injured? Because that's crazy enough as it is. We see guys going into fights injured and still winning, betting on themselves, right? As much as we want to conspire and do conspiracy theory talk and go, how many guys are betting against themselves? Guys are more dangerously to both them and our bets are betting on themselves going into these fights injured too, folks. So you just don't know. People need the money right now, man. It is a really desperate time. So this is something that we should keep our eye on, just for general observation. To particularly if you're a part of the betting group who's joined me here, you're a degenerate or sharp better, however you want to look upon yourself. Well, everybody should be extra. We want to get it in. We want to make a comeback. We're in our fantasy pools, right? We want to play from behind. Maybe this is where we're being like not as conservative. Maybe we're doing well from the year, so we're like even more so, right? So whether you're doing well, you're behind. This is the least time of year you're going to be playing conservative as a bettor. But what I'm saying is maybe we should be the opposite here, folks. Maybe this should be the time we actually should be most conservative, especially when we're betting this sport. And if you want to take a fight to get some extra Christmas money, well, there is a relentless schedule in place that puts on fights nonstop called the UFC and its Apex for its ESPN home. So you can't put it back in the box at this point. The contracts have been done. They got to answer the call. These fighters need money at the end of the day. So you got to keep that in mind, folks. There ain't no sure shots here. But I'm going to be taking Kevin Holland probably around round 2 or 3 to find an opportunistic right hand after Stephen Thompson makes Kevin Holland backer sweat. I'm not betting this fight. If I did bet it, I feel like it's dog or pass. I'm rooting for you Thompson bettors. Thompson by decision. I think those are great. The over even, like you just want to bet the over, like just to snipe, We probably just get a weird fight that goes to the decision, to be honest, with their playfulness and propensity to counter. Like I would do that, but since I'm technically picking Kevin Holland in rounds 2 and 3, which is probably the most likely if he is going to get a finish, it's going to be obviously in the first half of the fight more than it is the second half. Well, that would be inaccurate, hypocritical, and irresponsible for me to seriously suggest that or play that, I guess. So I probably won't because I just don't. This is not a fight I'm rushing to bet. Those are what catches my eye as a bettor. I'm rooting for you if that's what you're on. Not that I'm rooting against you if you're not on it. I'm picking Holland to win inside the distance here. But yeah, man, I hope I'm wrong. All right, I'm going to look at a little bit, since I talked a lot about that fight. Hey, Chronic Combat Conversations. Yes, PYN time. I can't wait till it's Chronic Combat Conversations time because that means I'm a little less stressed because my work is usually done at that point, and I get to listen to my guys, TB, who's in the chat. How do we have 18 people and only 8 likes? Run it up, people. Yep, get the like count up, please. Hit the likes. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. What is... I got to answer a liver quick question, especially from a new, unfamiliar name. Spart Helder. What is better, a liver kick or a toe kick to the perennial nerve? Toe kick or a toe to the perennial nerve? Toe specifically, huh? I would say liver kick over anything. Doesn't matter if you're going, doesn't matter what you're hitting the perennial nerve with, and if it's a successful direct hit, like your Luke Skywalker in A New Hope, that reference is not like lost now, right? Because now they're doing Star Wars stuff. I still got to watch Andor. I didn't finish Mandalorian because I just got too pissed at You know, I was, again, Contrarian Dan, hated Baby Yoda, and that damn Gina Carano episode. I feel like I guessed like every point, you know, up until Yoda sipping the coffee. I was like, yeah, I can't watch this shit. I know everyone's gonna hate me for that, crucify me. I will give Andor a shot. Anyways, even if you do the direct, you know, hit like Luke Skywalker in A New Hope to that perennial nerve, it's the liver kick. Shout out to my past. Wow, man, started this year losing another coach, Tim Lane, kickboxing coach. Shout out to my past, rest in peace, Coach Tim Lane, kickboxing coach. Used to do these kind of, not really a trick question, but yeah, kind of trick question setup, if you will. If you were allowed one kick to take down the strongest opponent, where do you hit them? You got to make sure they go. People be like, Edson Barbosa wheel kick, crazy contrarian axe kick. Some people will be thinking they'd be like toe to the solar plexus to knock the wind out of him. Okay, all right, muscles can still kind of get there, even with a muscular person. All right. Balls, kick them in the balls. Interesting choice, great choice, great to think out of the box. The answer is the liver kick. The liver kick shuts everything down. It's miserable. You go to the body. People with the toughest chins will get to Brian Barberina coming up, my guy Bam Bam. People with the toughest chins, you go to the body. It's, you know, they're surprisingly soft to the body. Whether they look hard or they look soft, right? It doesn't matter. The body, it's so brutal. It's so brutal. And, you know, I'm a body fan, and it's for a reason. Any questions on the Thompson main event before I push on to that co-main event? I see someone talking about the Southpaw podcast, Jimmy Kudo. Dan, are you a fan of the Southpaw podcast? Yes. Because you're an actual Southpaw, or because they do a good job of calling out the nonsense in MMA? More so the latter, because they do a good job of calling out the nonsense in MMA. Southpaw podcast is what Kareem Zidane is to MMA journalists. Like, you know, there's not much people who, you know, call out things, and especially shouts to Kareem, because, like, you know, that's actually the role of journalists supposed to do. If you like what a journalist is writing, or people that you are reporting on like what you're saying, you're probably not doing a great job. There's a better saying than that. That's in the industry from actual journalists, not me, folks. But yeah, man. So you want to give credit to the real one, Southpaw podcast, Sam Yang, real one. I love even like their Star Trek series is cool. I dig that. They had like an Italian cooking episode. They have like cooking episodes that like Italian chef on, that Filipino chef. It was fantastic. So it's like they'll have some real good out of the box stuff too. But yeah, man, credit to them. I mean, you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to agree with everybody, but it's important to keep a wide lens out there. And it's important that the smaller voices, the minority voices, get love and shine too as well. So great shout to the Southpaw podcast. I'm not seeing anything too much on that, so I'm going to push on to the co-main event here. Apologies, folks. Trying to stay on task here. Stay on target. Speaking of Star Wars references, Rafael Dos Anjos, minus 560. Brian Barberina, plus 430. What did this... Yeah, open minus 325. I get it. Like, I probably would have opened RDA minus 250, and I still wouldn't have expected him to get quite this high. Maybe I would expect him to get to 4-1 region, not over 5-1. And I went digging, man. I wanted to find a reason to pick Barberina as an underdog. You know, my record with him ain't terrible. You know, there I picked him Warley Alves. I picked him in round 2 last time, specifically because of the elbows against Lawler. Of course, I was one of the only people to pick him against Sage Northcutt, which sounds crazy at the time. So Barberina's been good to me as an underdog, folks. Believe you me. But the stats are interesting. Rafael Dos Anjos did get 2 takedowns on Fiziev, which brought his record from 14-3 to 14-4 when Rafael Dos Anjos secures with a minimum of just 1 successful takedown. Brian Barberina can be taken down, so I get why people are thinking of that. And I'm not saying that it won't be part of the game plan and we won't see mat time. I believe we will, folks. But Brian Barberina, like many people from the MMA lab, have his great get-up game. And you can wear yourself out grappling too much. RDA in his first fight back up at welterweight, so that we could see this back up depending on how the weight management. Again, not the biggest guy. Barberina used to fight at lightweight, although Safatine didn't. Tarek Safatine was not the biggest welterweight, and RDA in a 3-round fight, you know, putting his pace on was kind of tiring a bit toward the end, where Brian Barberina can be strong in those third rounds, or that is his round he gives it that first, right? A lot of the times, So, there are things to watch out for there. But, yeah, 14-4, again, he's probably going to get a takedown here. So, you've got the odds there in your favor. As far as southpaw stats go, again, these are the kind of stats I like, folks. I think these are more tangible stats. They're more unique, yes, and cool, I guess. But I think they are more applicable, though no stats tell the story. Even my own unique and cool hipster southpaw stats, and I'm the first to admit that. Rafael dos Anjos officially 5-4 against UFC-level southpaws. As I tweeted that you can argue could be 4-5. While looking back at his fight with Dunham, not discounting the arguments in his fights with, Colby and others. He really does a lot of quiet work in the clinch, which is going to be interesting because even though Dos Anjos does a lot of good work in the clinch that he hasn't gotten credit for in fights like against Colby Covington and others, he doesn't want to get stuck in the clinch with Barberena because, again, even Matt Brown, legendary in the clinch, knockout leader at welterweight, actual welterweight, good with elbows. Again, just because you have certain offense doesn't mean you have the defense for it, right? Kevin Holland, I forgot to mention, since working with Bob Perez, doing much more feinting and leg kicks, which is going to be huge against Thompson. And he'll attack thighs and calves, and that's good. And it's another good weapon. Another slight point, if you will, why I'm leaning toward Holland. But Holland, not that it's going to matter too much because Thompson doesn't use traditional calf or tie style leg kicks much at all. But Holland's defense not great, but he's learning the offense, right? Barberena, offense, he'll attack the hell out of legs, but when traffic comes back to the legs or body, he's very hittable in those ranges, and that's where I kind of see Dos Anjos kind of shining here, especially to the body. He still goes a decent clip to the body. Some fights he'll be a little lighter on the legs than others, although I think someone trying to actively kick his legs like Barberena will, because Barberena's had a penchant for going after legs, even in open stance matchups lately. I think that's going to wake up Dos Anjos, and you remember Dos Anjos against Leon Edwards in that fight with the leg kicks. Again, he did much better than given credit for in that fight. There's another fight and again, like Covington, another southpaw, right, where he arguably did better than given credit for. So I know I'm a Dunham guy who's used to be a coach of mine at Extreme Couture. So, of course, I got to mention that little jab going the other way, but that doesn't mean there are other things that could go his way, too, in those unofficial arguments, right? And how you apply those in the actual forecasting for this fight. Well, again, I think the leg traffic and the body traffic are going to be big. Dos Anjos not a big one-punch knockout guy, although he did one-punch knockout a southpaw who Brian Barberena was in the corner of, a teammate of his. Could we get payback? Revenge, which we'll revisit on the Angela Hill fight as well there. But, that was Benson Henderson, of course, I'm referring to. That was back in, 2013, a long time ago. But, yeah, that was a heavy shot, rear shot knockout there. So, not that he couldn't. Barberena has been hurt. But, again, those stoppage losses, what was it? Just a barn burner against Vicente Luque, of all people. And then after that, Barberena is going, before that, we've got about, 2 back surgeries and then a laparectomy where he almost died, right, between 2019 and 2020. Subsequently, Brian Barberena just looks bad physically from the scales to in the cage, getting hurt by guys like Jason Witt. No offense to Jason Witt. I know he's got a bad chin. Doesn't mean the guy doesn't hit with power. He's built like a gorilla. I'm not trying to take away anything from him, but these are kind of things that, people use to try to take away from Barberena. So I just want to mention that he was going through a lot of health problems in those. So Barberena, just kind of, nothing to lose, man. Fighting at his tip top. And I think if Dos Anjos messes up his pacing and puts the pack down at the wrong time, especially toward the later end of the fight, and Barberena is able to maybe cut him and kind of, really stifle things up with an elbow in the clinch and really start piling on in the clinch, we could see a quick turn. That being said, is it enough for me to pick, much less play Barberena? Of course not. My initial instinct was pick Dos Anjos, and this is probably just going to be a fun fight that plays out obviously closer than the line is set, but it should be a fun, competitive, but clear win on the scorecards for Dos Anjos. That's what the odds are pointing to. But, man, I don't know. I wonder what the fight is like, if you've got any lines and condolences to folks in New Jersey and Ontario region in Canada going through that bullshit right now. Apologies, folks. So, I know I don't get access to places like FanDuel and stuff either, but I know those FanDuels and DraftKings, they have what, like fight ends in KO or whatever these like weird props are or whatever, and like I wonder what that would be. Fight ends in knockout, because Barberena has to have like a second or third round pile up comeback. You know, elbows, cut, stoppage. Those are his winning conditions for this fight. Not that he can't win a decision. And obviously, Dos Anjos can and is favored more often to win a decision than not in this fight. But again, piling it on, Barberena, we got the crowd going, and just that I think he's gonna hurt him to the body. I know Brian Barberena turns things around in round 2. He got it done in round 2 last time I picked him and bet him to get it done in round 2 last time. But you know what? I think Dos Anjos gets it done in round 2. I think Dos Anjos gets it done by TKO. It opened at plus 700. Not alone, because it's floating between minus 4 to 500 now, which puts it in prop squad range. But I haven't played it because it's not exactly confident. But I'm not confident on a lot on this card. By surface value, and even by the time I finish digging, don't feel bad for what I left off on the rest of this card, folks, on the matchups I went light on. But, like, I don't know how much you're going to be really missing in this breakdown anyways, because I don't know how much I'm going to be posting fight day. I'll be surprised if I get my traditional round robin up. If I find stuff confident enough there, it's tough. Like, part of me is looking at a 3-leg parlay, which is really bad if I'm considering that, because, I'm an anti-parlay guy. Especially they've not been good to me this year, so... Yeah, I'm going to go Dos Anjos round 2, body shot KO. And if I do play it, it'll probably only be like a half unit or something at least plus 400 is what I would want there. And then I would probably put that in the round robin. That would be a round robin play for sure, especially because there's not a lot coming to mind. Next fight, we got Mateusz Nicolau, minus 365. He opened in the minus 200 region. Matt Schnell, plus 300, come back on him. Fight will play out closer than the odds predict. Not a crazy thing to say there. I know the initial instinct is Schnell could be a live dog, or perhaps he could be. I'm going to refresh myself on some of their matchups, folks, but I'm leaning toward Nicolau here. Schnell actually has more boxing experience than Nicolau. Nicolau, I think, only had 3 amateur boxing fights, went 3-0. Whereas Schnell, I believe, at least has some golden gloves for whatever those are worth, titles and stuff, and amateur experience in that realm. He's got a good long jab, likes to play on the outside. And maybe we do see these guys box, because I don't think, unless Nicolau wants to maybe try to secure some rounds or put stamps on things, or he thinks he's got Schnell hurt, maybe he takes him down. But knowing that he's got that, upset modes from the triangle, maybe Nicolau doesn't. Nicolau, of course, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, some grappling accolades himself, trains at Nova and Yao. So, I don't think he'll be too scared and too prone to Schnell, but we've seen Schnell upset from there before. Schnell can have a dogfight, and as much as it seems like, and he's not built to win those things, he's been coming out on top. This could be a fight if he's able to get a dogfight out of Nicolau. This is one where I could see Schnell maybe succeeding, but the fact that he's succeeded and escaping death, especially the last time out, can you really count on him to do it again here? I know we always, you can get in trouble trying to bet on Nat Schnell's chin, because he's, you probably lost money more on that more often than not recently, right? And Nicolau doesn't throw himself out of position much. So I don't know if he's really going to oblige Schnell on the kind of fight that he wants, unless it's a conservative fight that makes things closer. That scares me off. Again, I'll go back and research this fight. If something is changed, I'll certainly let you know about it on my quick picks and prognostications article, because thankfully the UFC matchmakers are at least putting a fight under 170 on the main card. God forbid, Christ, what the fuck's their logic? Anyways, at least they're giving flyweights some love on a main card. I mean, that is rare. I guess we should pat the fucking matchmakers on their head for that. But yeah, there's a lot of visual stuff you guys are missing if you're not watching the YouTube, by the way. Thanks for those helping the watch hours. But yeah, that's my take on this one. We got Sergey Pavlovich, minus 225 comeback on Tai Tuivasa, plus 185. This opened as a pick'em, which I get. Money coming on Pavlovich, which I get. I got pretty much laughed at for picking Tai last time out, but, he proved, even though he didn't get the win, he got the knockdown in the way I said it was, in the round I said it was going to happen. So I at least didn't feel too bad. Felt a little vindicated for getting a lot of crap for picking against a big favorite there. But even though my love for Ty, and he's cashed and almost cashed for what that's worth, I guess. Losing bet is a losing bet. You think I'd have love for him here? Of course I got love for Tai Tuivasa. But as far as picking goes, I'm going to go with Pavlovich here. I honestly didn't look too far into this fight. I know these guys fairly well. And this is just a very dangerous fight for both guys. In the clinch, it's where it's going to be crazy. I think that Tai Tuivasa's best bet's going to be leg kicks here, something to watch out for. But if I think success and failure only makes Pavlovich kind of fight harder, and Tai Tuivasa is kind of the same way. The only thing that doesn't make him want to fight hard is if he starts to get gassed, tired, and like take a lot of body shots. Even then, he'll still go out on his shield and start swinging heavy on you, right? So it's hard to be contrarian and look for overs or things like that here, as much as I want to do that. And then hearing Tai Tuivasa, he just wants to get back home for the holidays, back to Australia, back to Mark Fellows. Shouts to Mark Fellows, his part of the world. So, I don't know. I know you don't like to go through these things about interviews and stuff, but I don't know. I just got this, he's planning to take 6 months off after this, Ty was saying, just to revamp. It sounds like he wants to reform his body and lift some weights and do some things. So, it really, he's got his beer company. It really, again, folks, people are, he was just saying he spent too much money on his holiday in Europe and how his camps and certain things cost him a lot of money. I mean, these are things coming from his mouth. I'm not trying to draw a particular picture, but you add what's coming from the horses' mouths themselves and the undeniable humanistic, is that even a freaking word, facts that I was talking about earlier, what this time of year, we're all kind of buckling down and we're almost just, we're coming to grips if things haven't gone well. We're just trying to make the most and get the most of what we can so we can push on to next year, put ourselves in as good a position as possible. Bodies are run down. He's been through a lot of camps. He's had a lot of fights. He is talking a bit about that, as is the case, I imagine, with a lot of these fighters. These are tough things, to get confident in. So, even though heavyweight fights by nature, of this nature especially, feels like a dog or pass territory, I'm not saying to bet Pavlovich or whatever, but I won't be betting this fight. But yeah, it makes the pick a little easier for me. I'm going to pick Pavlovich to come through on this one. But yeah, if I do change my pick or I see something, I didn't go to Pavlovich's Instagram. Maybe I see something I don't like. I don't know. I doubt it. I think this is going to be a pick Pavlovich and be happy for Ty, root for Ty, stay away, keep my money away. Next fight, we got Eric Anders, who, let me pull up his southpaw record here. We got Anders, who is a, let's see, officially 2-4 against UFC southpaws, but he probably should be 1-5 when you go back to look at his fight with Gerald Meerschaert. That's just being honest. Which means Marcus Perez, the guy who does impersonations of other fighters, is his fighting style. It was his only win. Southpaw. That being said, the thing is, Dawkins here. I've been big on Dawkins. Not like he's going to be the next contender or the second coming. It's not like I had crazy expectations, but even my healthy conservative expectations, you got to wonder, you're like, oh, can this be a guy that can be upset? And at the end of the day, he's dedicated. He's got the experience, talented, seems like a good guy, all that stuff. But, as tall as he is, he's not the most athletic, and big shots can hurt him ultimately at the end of the day, which is kind of the truth for everybody, granted. So it's no shade there, right? And he's making a quick return, like some of these fighters. The Rafael dos Anjos is another one, right? They're riding that 6 months or just under that 6 months that you like to see minimum, I think, for KO losses. And that is, that is worrisome. He didn't lose consciousness, but didn't he have like facial fractures? I mean, that's serious, Anders, you could say, is overblown, and that's not a thing against Anders. Anders seems like just a good dude. I like Anders, man. I like interviewing him, but he just, again, I feel like an Anders hater, but he just gets overhyped, and it's done him a disservice, Done him a disservice from the odds makers to his fans, both during those odds. And again, it's not hating on football or anything here, folks. Again, I know I'm drawing on my unpopularity here. Wow, Dan, you're going to talk crap about football too. By the way, my top 3 overrated things, folks. My top 3 overrated things in the universe over anything was Elon Musk, Kanye West, and In-N-Out Burger. So judging by history, I think the double-double is going to take some faceless-ass turns, folks. Double-double's going faceless. Sorry. Holy fuck. I hate it when I'm right, folks. Again, I hate it when I'm right. But what the fuck was I talking about? Yeah, but, like, you know, we're like, oh, but this guy was a division football. He played on the Alabama team and this and that. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know how many Greg Hardys and, like, seasons of Ultimate Fighters where they bring in football players to, like, realize that at the end of all this crazy experimentation, the best NFL crossover in the UFC in any division has been Brendan Schaub. As much as we all love to hate on that guy, he's still the best NFL football base crossover fighter to compete in the UFC. Wrap your head around that. Maybe, hopefully, that will help adjust your expectations, folks. Not trying to be a dick, just stating the facts here. But, like, yeah, so yeah, you just see that. I know he's had some injuries because his body, obviously, through football, it's a very taxing sport, which is why I got a lot of respect and sympathy for the bodies of players and people who have dedicated. Not shitting on your sport or art, if you will, even to put it that way. Just saying, comes with a toll, right? That's not news. So yeah, man, it's tough. Dawkins, of course, is what is his southpaw record? I just had it here. He's officially 1-0 against UFC level southpaws, although it may be worth noting Dustin Stoltzfus, despite traditionally fighting out of orthodox, Byron Sins did fight a majority of their contests from the southpaw stance. I try to note those things. We'll get to Dolidze and Hermanson here, as far as that goes and those little intricacies. But yeah, not even just for those. I think Dawkins is probably going to fight conservative, pushing to the clinch. And even if Anders does hurt Dawkins or gets him, like, one of those things when someone hurts their nose or gets some kind of facial thing, like a Josh Koscheck orbital, or we get the facial fracture. This is another thing why I want to be careful about playing Dawkins, because you don't know if he's going to get a finish or fight conservative to a decision. And if he gets a finish, what's it going to be? You're really rolling the dice at that point. But even just putting him in a parlay to circumvent the possibilities and play it, air quote, safe. Is it really that safe? Because if you're parlaying, you're putting probably a pretty decent unit price there, at least one unit, right? You're still investing at that point, so dangerous, right? Dangerous. I want to, but I'm afraid I might just pick Dawkins and just stay away here because, again, does he get jabbed and start checking his eye like Josh Koscheck? Does who was it that Emily Ducote fought? Jessica Penne, she comes back from the nose surgery. Does she get it broken again and she starts checking it and then she just kind of loses track of the fight, right? Like, we see that happen all the time, and it's not shitting on these fighters. This is human nature. So, it could take one good shot, but the unfortunate thing about Anders, which is something I tried to tell you off for the Jong Young Park fight that everybody thinks to seem as close as possible, like you can just win a fight by not landing clean shots and pushing into the clinch, which you can, because like we've seen really bad decisions, that way. But yeah, like the thing about Anders is when he does do good work and he does hurt fighters, it's like that football hardwiring, and he just wants to let's go tackle. It's like, what are you doing, man? Stop shooting the takedown when he's hurt. It's one of the most frustrating things. We all know it. We've all seen it. We've all been there, right? As far as betting on it goes, not in the actual brave aspect, like Anders. I mean, even being the kid, I don't think I ever hurt my opponent, so I can't even say I've done that, unfortunately. Right? So, I'll shit up myself there, no problem with that. But, like, yeah, man, so it's so hard to even trust Anders to even take advantage of that, if it does happen. So, yeah, I'm going to go Kyle Dawkins here, and it doesn't look like anybody's touching this fight for good reason. I'm surprised money's coming in on this fight, but I get it. I don't disagree with who's favored. We got Jack Hermanson minus 195. Roman Dolidze, come back on him, plus 165 of the main card. Yeah, man, of course I'm going to be rooting for Roman Dolidze. I was thinking he's a live underdog, and I still think he's a live dog here just because he's going to be one of those guys that's always a live dog. But he's always going to be hard for me to pick, and I know he's got some affiliation with Extreme Couture, works with my guy Eric Nixick, who'll probably be in his corner, And it would do Dolidze well to have Eric in his corner, considering Eric just cornered against Hermansson. So, and Eric actually does his homework on guys, so he's going to have his notes and shit fresh. So, definitely rooting for them. But again, folks, just because I state my extreme couture bias, that doesn't mean I got to pick these fighters, because it would be too hard. It would be much easier to recuse myself and just keep quiet to what I bet and what I don't bet, and that way I don't got to worry about that. But folks, I never leaned on inside information. You can ask on other people that I've never asked that. And considering what's happening to a lot of people in the industry now, again, I make a lot less money, so it's probably a bad thing. You could argue it would be smarter if I use my connections. But the fact that I don't do anything shady and anything like of that regards, and I've known fighters, and I won't say because I'm not a rat, who aren't afraid to make phone calls and see who's injured and who's not before going to the betting window. Like, again, folks, people in the know, this shit has been common for a while. We just don't fucking talk about it. And that's all I'll say about it as far as that goes. 'Cause I'm not a rat here, but yeah, so I'm going to keep that same energy, and I got to still be able to make money by covering the sport, and it's a good problem to have, but there are way too many fighters that cross over in way too many different capacities, from mainstays to touching to visitors and tourists, if you will, that cross through the same gym that I train, to avoid it completely. It's unavoidable, in other words. So I got to just do my best, call things out, not and keep that same energy that I've been keeping, in other words, folks. So yeah, gonna officially pick Jack Hermansson here. He was originally set to face Derek Brunson, so the Dolidze, hard fighter to pick, given that his process can be wacky. Like, even before he gets the finish on a clearly hurt Hawes, he's kind of like letting up. Shout out to my guy TB Scouting. He was like, wasn't Dolidze a southpaw? He fought Dawkins, and he fought most of his fights all in orthodox that I grazed through here. And then I recently rewatched his fight versus Hawes before jumping on here, and he does fight southpaw, but after he hurts him, he's switching from orthodox during those times as well. So we'll see. Maybe it's something he was working on. The way he was fighting from southpaw in his last fight against Hawes almost seemed like it was to try to throw Hawes off, maybe to take off the takedown look, although he has no problems relinquishing and being on his back and going for leg locks. So again, a real hard guy to like count on and get a beat on, but his attacks are things that Jack likes. Hermansson seems like he could be broken by this type of dude if he gets a position from him, but I don't know if Dolidze is going to be able to out-wrestle him. And I hope Dolidze doesn't try this new southpaw stance, considering that Hermansson spent his whole camp training for a southpaw. So whatever that southpaw look was, TB, I hope he doesn't do it here, because it wouldn't serve him well. He's going to want to lean into his orthodox stance, because Hermansson will still jab against southpaws anyways, to be honest. And yeah, he was training for a southpaw guy, so why not change it up? So I'm going to not be playing this fight. I don't want to say it's dog or pass, but like it just feels like a fight that I wouldn't be comfortable playing anyways, either way, to be honest. But it does feel like if you are going to play it, I'd look in the plus money realm more than the chalk realm. I'll just say that. You always do what you want. Y'all are big boys and girls. You can do whatever you want with your money. I am just a reference. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. That's why I don't charge. If I did, it would, it wouldn't be for my picks and plays or any kind of guarantee. You know what I'm saying? It would just be more for a support service in general thing. Definitely don't make any of those claims here, folks. Do what you will with your money. Just don't feel like that's a great fight to bet on. That concludes the main card. Let's see how we're doing in time. I'll clean up the chat for just over an hour. Do a quick cleanup of the chat. I see a lot of Zhang Weili stuff, a lot of technique stuff, which I always appreciate, folks. I can't get too. I've been getting a lot more of those, and on these breakdown shows especially, I got to try to stick somewhat on there. So apologies in advance if I don't get there. Jersey Lee. Dan, I don't know if you know this, but most of Drake's chat from WMMA Mania are here. I really appreciate that. They are a little more obnoxious on his show. Oh, well, I got love for them, but yeah. All right. Oh, I don't want to edit overlay. Cancel. Yeah. No, I appreciate the love. In fact, I'm apologizing to them because, I can't get to it all. Let me see if we got any questions about, the fights. Hey, there's a new person here. Craig Johnston. Just want to send some positive vibes your way, Dan. We live in the MMA space of hot takes and ridiculous fan bases that puts fighters down. Yep. Don't get discouraged, but keep doing what you do to educate us. That's a strong verbiage there, educate. But if I'm doing that, you feel I'm doing that, I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the encouragement and positivity. We definitely need more of that. I hate the engagement era that we're in. It's just like everything I see is everybody's just tweeting things to get their engagement up and engagement. And it's like it's bad enough. It's like that's taken over like my job in the media and stuff like that space. Like now, just everything down to the actual tweets. Everything is just engagement. Yeah, it sucks. Here's a Samuel Negrete. Here's a fight question about the fights we're talking about. He says, any chance of Holland attempt to wrestle early in the fight or wrestle at all? Or will it risk draining his gas tank or deter him? I think grappling does drain his gas tank. I asked myself this similar question, Samuel, and I went back to watching. Yeah, in his earlier fights, like in his regional fights, he's much more quicker to shoot like level-changing takedowns, which I thought was funny. And he still would do it a bit in UFC fights, but it was weird. Like, he does it sporadically. Not even necessarily against strikers. Like, even against John Phillips, where he gets the submission win and shoots some takedowns, he doesn't start shooting them until like 7 minutes in. Even when like Phillips has like a couple of moments. You know what I'm saying? Same with Darren Stewart, which was a weird fight. Like, there are certain fights in that even more relevant or more newer. More relevant, I guess was the right word in the first place, of Holland's sample, where you go and look where he did shoot takedowns. A lot of it was like, again, a lot of these fighters don't read the criteria, and not that it's not, you should do something to try to put a stamp on things. That is true. There is a human nature to that. But there's, you got to do something with the takedown, right? And you'll see him go for those late round takedowns where there's not enough time to get stuff done. Like, a decent portion, if you go to his takedown attempts, whether he gets them or not, Holland's in the UFC particularly are from that. I feel like he more meaningfully went for takedowns earlier in his regional career, and then from like Contender Series on, he was more about just like impressing the boss, putting on a show, really leaning into it, the big mouth thing that he does to kind of diffuse his own anxieties in there, which he admits. That's not me being armchair psychologist, right? He's trended away. Long story short, it's been there, but it's been there in weird, sporadic, not really consistent or dependable ways, and he's trended away from those. So I wouldn't be surprised for him to mix it up. Neither would Stephen Thompson, smartly, right? And he's obviously been focusing a lot of that on his game. Stephen Thompson did a little bit better than perhaps what you remember. Not so much maybe in the Bilal fight, but that because he's already starting end of round one in rough scenes. But he does do a lot better than what I remembered in the Burns fight, and that's happened to me twice now. Right. Let's see here. Rio Sosa Truesdale, for the RDA fight, do you think the southpaw jab can be a factor since it's a close stand situation, or will it be more tricky since both are southpaws and have different defenses? Great question. Recently rewatching the Lawler and Barberena fight, and some other Barberena's fights against southpaws, the jab and checking right hands in general seem to be a tough defense for Barberena. Right-handed counters, check hooks. You see Leon Edwards' corner smartly calling for it. More lead hand work. These things really catch Brian Barberena, and just right hands maybe in particular, because even Jason Witt, from an orthodox stance and being Jason Witt, was able to tag him with counter right hands. It wasn't when Witt was going forward; it was when he was letting Barberena come forward to him. So pressuring the pressure fighter, though that is the traditional way to beat pressure fighters, it is the way RDA has been beaten, particularly by bigger fighters like Khabib, even at lightweight, or obviously, the bigger wrestlers like Colby, though that fight obviously more competitive than people give credit for. I get, but again, Barberena, he's more likely to stick and move. He can get hit with jabs, lead hand work, and he is more prone to counters when coming forward. So a lot of those reasons made me less confident in looking for possible underdog routes for Barberena. And to your point, the lead hand advantage will be in RDA's side, should he choose to use it. He used the lead hand a lot more when he was with Perillo. He's been with Nova União as he's moved back to Brazil now for the last couple of camps. So we'll see how much of that Perillo staple he retained. It certainly would serve him well, and that's a great shout, Rio. All right. Jimmy Kudo to parlay off Rio's point. I've been using parlay because if you didn't, I know I abuse that word, don't I? Do you think that the cage cutting will be better for RDA since he is in a close stance matchup? Yeah, I kind of touched on that too, so that's a great point to bring up. I kind of just touched on that, and now I can expand on that. But yeah, he will have the better ring generalship, if you will. Again, Barberini can come on late. He can put the pressure on folks, but he is more susceptible when he does, and he is much more okay with kind of taking the back foot as his striking has gotten better and hanging out, kind of doing his resetting, rejogging, pumping his hand out from there. That's going to benefit RDA just as much, if not more, than it does him. So yeah, to your point there, I will give RDA the advantage. Barton Spacklecrisp, love that name. Are you a fan of Matt Chanel's comments about keeping fighter pay the way it is? Nope. I personally would love to see higher fighter pay so all fighters can train without worrying about living expenses, and just not having to worry about their health as much will be nice too. But yes, all that correlates. Not a big fan. I get it. A lot of that bootstrap mentality is what I read it as, and so I'm not completely coming off like I'm just like shitting on Chanel here, because I'm sure he's a nice guy otherwise. Wish him and his family the best, all that, but I can't fully hate because a lot of that comes from a place that I struggle with myself. Again, I'm not bootlicking or bootstrapping for billionaires out here. That's not my bag. But I'd be lying if, a lot of that bootstrap mentality in general is just, it's really common in sports, combat sports in particular, whether it's football, combat sports, get up, suck it up, let's get out there, let's earn it, let's work hard. And these things, kind of correlate to different, it's not a coincidence that these instilled in traditional attitudes correlate to other parts of life, from bootstrap mentalities and how they've ferment themselves, whether it's opinions on fighter pay to things like politics, right? As far as the leanings of many, it's not a coincidence. So, and I have a lot of those issues, themes, however you want to word it, within myself. So I get where it comes from. I'm not hating on it. I don't agree with it. I'm more with you, Barton. I think the fighters should get more. They are earning it. This is called earning it, Brian. It's like, motherfucker, all these motherfuckers are earning it, I see these guys at the gym grinding every day, man. They are working off the clock constantly without getting paid. So, yeah. Yeah, long story short, I guess, no, I don't agree with it, but I'm not going to, light torches out on these guys, I change my mind on many things. Maybe fighters change their stances, too. So, you gotta leave the door open for them to maybe educate themselves and their opinions more. Maybe it'll be different. Maybe not. It's their opinions to deal with. All right, some general questions. Hey, my guy Eric Betts Fights. Eric Betts Fights, feeling like we're about to make some money on this card on Saturday. Excited for your thoughts on these fights. And thanks, Eric. Your feelings are not like mine, though. I don't feel great about betting this card. This does not feel like a great betting card. Again, I know everybody seems excited, and I wonder if that's the week off. That we're not used to the week off. The degenerates are chomping at the bit. And my previous point, again, arguably this should be when we should be more conservative, but traditionally it is when we are the least conservative, because it's Christmas time, baby. We're the holiday spirits in the air. We got some drinks in us, maybe, or something. I don't know. We're feeling festive, We want to close the year out strong, and panicking. We're only seeing that many fights left, so maybe that's where the excitement's coming from. I'm certainly not trying to rain on y'all parade. I'm wishing my guy Eric and the rest of y'all all the best. I'm not feeling too great, but we'll get to the prelims here. All right, I'm gonna go to the prelims now. We got Nico Price minus 135, Philip Rowe plus 115. Boy, I'll keep it short on this fight. Nico Price has been on a bit of a break. I haven't researched him or this fight. Again, this feels like it should be a dogger pass, kind of like the Tai Tuivasa Pavlovich fight. If you are going to bet, but that's another fight that I do not want anything attached to it. The totals, nothing seems attractive to me. Everything seems where it probably should be. Price probably should be slightly favored. Rose seems like a guy who's always kind of attractive as an underdog. I believe he's come through as an underdog for me before. I'm going to lean Nico Price, but I don't blame anybody for playing Phil Rowe. I'll reserve my right to pick on the pick here for fight day posting at Dan Tom MMA. I always post my fight day picks as long as my main card, quick picks and prognostication articles, along with any other in-depth prop squad betting articles or whatever at Dan Tom MMA is where I'm good about posting and sharing it. But even if I do end up picking Phil Rowe, I don't even know if I bet him, This is just one of those really volatile fights. Again, back to kind of what I was touching on with my guy Eric there in the chat. I wish I'd rather have the optimistic attitude for sure. Although usually when I'm optimistic about bets, those are the fights that get canceled all the time, which furthers my PTSD and anger and rage for my constant struggle to always want to be earlier. But when I am, or it doesn't matter when I'm excited, I'll fuck alls anyways. We got Angela Hill plus 100, Emily Ducote minus 120. It's like, I feel like Angela Hill, part of me feels like Angela Hill's a live dog here, but I would like her to be at more underdog odds if I was going to want to take a shot on her. I'll be honest, I did not refresh this fight, but I do like what I see from Ducote. I've always known her as a kind of well-rounded Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but she's really improved her striking in recent years. I remember doing some tape on her last fight, so that was one of the things that struck me most about that. Angela Hill, of course, is always live, always a part of those heartbreaking decisions, so that alone doesn't, again, back to my theme of fights that I don't want to be a part of, but wouldn't this be kind of fitting for, like, to get a competitive fight, female lighterweight fight, like they kind of usually are, hard to judge, close, sketchy scorecards, like they usually are for the lighterweight classes, right? That division, particularly strawweight. And again, Angela Hill's fights, like they usually are, close and crazy. Is this not the time where Angela Hill is going to get the split decision, and it's one where, like, she probably lost the fight? And again, she probably lost a lot of the fights that she and her fans complain about. I'm not shitting on her or her fans. I'm just being honest there. Like, she didn't win a lot of those fights. I know it's easy, easy to, in some of them you can get close and heartbreaking, and I sympathize with those. But I will say that it's not as bad as it's made out to be. But yeah, so I'll be very happy for Angela Hill if she can pull this off. Maybe I'll look a little closer into this one, but again, with the history of that division, all those things, and then you want to sprinkle Dan Tom's history with strawweight fighters. No. But Dan, didn't you actually cash a bet with Amanda Lemos over Angela Hill, and that was a split decision that went your way? I'm like, yes, but again, it's like, do I count that as one that went my way, or do I count that as it was a small bet on Lemos, and it was a competitive but fairly competitive but fairly clear, I felt, win, and I gotta always hear about that fight as a robbery that, shouldn't have won. And so it's like, which is annoying because it's like, as you guys know, it's like, no. I've been on the, I live in the darkness. I'm like Bane. I live in the area of those, where those heartbreaking decisions come. Believe me, I live in that area. Not all of it is that. So that's all I'm saying. So yeah, we got Clay Guida. I'm leaning toward Ducote, but again, check back with me on Twitter come fight day. Clay Guida plus 145. Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman minus 170. Money coming in on Clay, which I get because this fight shouldn't be super wide either way. But I do believe the right guy is favored. Again, Holtzman, I believe without looking, he's not too far off in age of Guida, just less miles. Not the best takedown defense, can be taken down, but like, he's got good get-up game, He's and when he's on top, he's got good ground and pound. And Guida, you never know what you're going to get with him, what positions he's going to give or be in. Not that I expect him to be on bottom for long, obviously. But, like, yeah, I don't expect Scott Holtzman to be on bottom for long either. He's got that great MMA lab get-up game, He hustles for it. Gets after it, throws his fair share of uppercuts, which will be handy against Guida. I want to dive a little deeper into that. But I like Holtzman here. If he goes down to minus 150, that's, straight play territory, and I would maybe consider it. minus 170, you're still getting a discount. I'm going to look into it further. It's probably just a pick Holtzman and stay away, so don't get too excited, folks. But with this fight card looking as barren as it feels, at least from my purview, doesn't mean it has to be yours, folks. I'm wishing you the best. I'm just saying, I'm just not feeling it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right. I'm just not feeling it, which is why I'm like even looking to parlays, which is not me. And, maybe Holtzman could be one of those sneaky pieces because he is, minus 170. You don't have to then you don't have to go into fucking 3-leg territory to turn a plus money on a parlay, right? Maybe we can just pair him with one other leg here, So we'll see on that. I'm going to dip in a little closer, but I doubt you'll see a Guida name next to my picks. It's just, am I going to put this fight on any kind of exposure, right? That will be the question there. So you'll have to touch back with me on there. We got Mark Diakase minus 315. Michael Johnson, my main man, plus 260. Super wide odds. I'm not a big fan of this JSP. Sure, he's a fine kid. I'm going to be rooting for Darren Elkins here, but yeah, the pick's going to be Jonathan Pierce. Am I going to play Jonathan Pierce, much less at that price? Hell no. No way. I don't even want to mess with totals or anything for this fight, although what are they? Over, plus, under. Is someone going to get a finish, I guess? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a contrarian shot on the over at plus money. That would be about it. I don't really care for too much on this fight, if I'm struggling to find if I really want to put a round robin together for this and I'm struggling for legs, I'm suspecting I will, maybe I throw that over in it, Throw that over. We get a little Dos Anjos by KO. We do Sergey Pav's KO. No, stay away from that fucking fight, Dan. What are you talking about? I don't know. We do minus 250 fight doesn't go to decision. Price row is the anchor, right? And then we would need another plus money, maybe a Holtzman by a method, if there's a method that drops out when I get through my research. Or we shoot big. I don't want to. I want to shout my guy, but I don't know if he tweeted it yet, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be on the prop squad. But a gentleman I respect may or may not have Johnson by submission, or Diakase by Johnson by submission. Jesus, what is that, plus 50,000? Diakase by submission. Diakase, of course, if you listen to DC's commentary, is a surprise wrestler who never wrestles. Of course, if you actually watch any of his fights, minus the fight that I bet him on to wrestle, of course, against Viziev, though, to his credit, he did attempt technically 2 takedowns in the first round. DKC always is a grinding grappler who hulks dudes around. That's kind of should not be a surprise to anybody at this point. I don't know what the deal is. And he's been working on his jiu-jitsu. He's now a Brazilian jiu-jitsu brown belt. So for what that's worth, I'm going to rewatch some things to see what his proclivities are on the ground before I pull the trigger. But, I don't know. It's can you get close to plus money by parlaying Diakase and Holtzman, and then or if you parlay Diakase, whatever your parlay is, you do a little sprinkle on upwards of plus 1,000 at least, I imagine, right, for Diakase by sub possibly. You could grind him out and just probably win by decision, which is probably the most likely outcome. I didn't even look at what the odds, but I'm going to guess that's what the odds are favoring. Yeah, they're favoring it to go over. So yeah. Fight goes to decision. Yep. So Diakase wins by decision. What's that at? Minus 115. What did it open it as? Plus 110. Yeah, I don't blame that. But by submission could be plus 1,200, plus 1,400. Opened at plus 500. Wow. So you're getting discount's not the right word, but you know what I mean. You're getting a good price on it. And maybe that's a wild card you throw in there. We'll see, but I'm going to pick Diakase for that fight, picking Jonathan Pierce against the other vet. We got Tracy Cortez and Amanda Hibosh. Opened at dead even and stays at dead even. So who knows? Maybe I don't play that fight. This one probably goes to the decision, I guess, right? Yeah, fight goes to decision, minus 280. Jesus. All right, you're not getting any cute plus money there. And again, dangerous if you feel like you have an edge on who will win that decision because, again, it's not strawweight. I believe this is a flyweight fight, correct? But either way, these are where the decisions get real shifty. Yeah, it's flyweight, and you just want to be careful about that. I think Cortez is naturally the bigger girl, the natural better wrestler, though Hibash doesn't just have judo stuff. She looks like she's been working on her wrestling. I got to go rewatch some things though to make sure of that. So it's just tricky. It's like, how does she do when people are meaningfully taking her down? People don't necessarily do that to Hibash. We've seen brief scrambles, but usually she's from topside because usually she's the initiator or the winner of wrestling scrambles and entanglements. So this is a really tricky one to call. I want to slightly lean toward Cortez, but do not be surprised to see my picks or takes on this thing go either way come fight day. I actually would be more prone to look into this fight than I would Angela Hill Ducote. Even though it's arguably more volatile of a fight, I am generally more curious of this fight and how it shakes out. But we don't really have great answers on either side, taking down good grapplers. Well, I didn't go back to rewatch that Aaron Blanchfield fight recently, but I know Cortez has the W winner, but that was a competitive fight that could have very well and arguably should have gone to Blanchfield, right? So I want to go refresh on these ladies, but I'm leaning toward Cortez here. Natan Levy, who does do some cross training at Extreme Couture, he is favored, I believe. He is a black belt and karate and kung fu, so he kind of has a little bit of representation of both. That's just Stinkum Browns over there, Brownie barking. Oh, the dog's barking. Careful. Is that Genaro Valdez live? Plus 170, Genaro Valdez. Natan Levy minus 200. Opened minus 160. Money coming in on Levy. I will side with him here too. Is awkward, kind of striking. I don't mean that as a diss. It's just, the awkward timing and strokes of it, if you will. Obviously, you can attribute to the traditional martial arts background as that is an affect it can have on the striking. Genaro Valdez, I got to go refresh myself on him. But I believe we don't got much besides a purple belt in BJJ. I feel like that was the only accolade, unless someone had specialty in something. It was like the arbitrary purple belt in BJJ. But he likes to brawl and scrap. From my memory, from the sound of his bio. He does not hide that either. I'll be leaning toward Levy there, and we'll see. I'll look this up. Francis Marshall, what did I give him? Marshall grading the winner. Sorry, folks, I should have done this ahead of time, but this is probably not a fight I'm looking forward to bet anyways. But we got Francis Marshall minus 155, Marcelo Rojo plus 135. This opened a dead even, so money coming on the Contender Series kid against the Marcelo Rojo's a James Krause fighter. So I don't know if you guys will have action on this fight too. So who knows? Grading the winners. How did I grade this kid? Francis B plus. Although Francis Marshall failed to find a finish, I felt like the active fighter deserved a B plus for a solid showing in multiple phases, despite being known as a back take specialist who trains under the great Kurt Pellegrino. Got to give him a shout. Marshall demonstrated that he is a complete martial artist over the course of 15 minutes. His opponent, Connor Matthews, put up a great fight in the first as he tried to overwhelm Marshall with jabs and calf kicks. That said, Marshall was able to weather the storm and start to counter Matthews' offerings, eventually getting him to the floor to finish in the first frame. Marshall would go on to land a multitude of strikes on Matthews, as well as show good spurts of good submission defense and scrambles. But the 23-year-old shot some suspect takedowns. He seemed to hurt his opponent, back to what we talked about with Anders. Nevertheless, Marshall showed solid skills in all areas, and I'm glad that Dana White ended up giving him consideration. I just hope that the matchmakers take their time with such a young talent, as I would like to see Marshall matched up with someone like Daniel Argueta or Tucker Lutz. Marcelo Rojo was experienced, but not too far off from that as well. Rojo, it's like he's live for all 3 rounds, and he has spurts throughout as well, which is kind of dangerous. If Marshall will shoot a takedown if he hurts his opponent, maybe, in other words, you can't rely on him to get him out of there. That could be dangerous for him, right? But then Rojo also has a thing where he's got like a lot of like round 3 losses, and Marshall seems like a kid who puts the pace on him. So like, I'm not saying there's a round 3 that's live or anything or whatever there, but I think like unless you're taking some like high number small sprinkle, I don't know how much you really want to invest in this kind of fight because it's probably going to be wild. And even though I'll pick Marshall to win, even if he pulls it off, it's probably not going to look. It's probably going to be a sweating nail biter that I don't know how much you want to expose yourself to. So, yeah, that's all I have on that fight. And then lastly, but not leastly, Yasmin Jauregui, not Jaragui, as I fucking brutally pronounced last time. Minus 305. Come back on Estela Nunes, plus 255. Estela Nunes, purple belt BJJ. Some regional Muay Thai accolades. Jauregui opened at minus 240. Let me see. I got her bio here too. Let me see what she's. I remember her style. Just very active all around. Good volume. Good attitude. Even when she does take shots, she reacts well. Don't have issue with her being favored. Fight could be closer from what I remember from Estela Nunes. But we could see more grappling from Jauregui, wherever her thing is. Where the hell's her shit? Maybe she's not on here, huh? Yasmin, there it is, under Y. I started at the age of 15, approximately 2014, and the reason was bullying at school. After practicing the sport, I fell in love with it. Ranks and titles: Combat Cup, UWC champion, so regional titles. Yeah, no ranks or anything. Just really well rounded there. Really well rounded. I was really impressed with her tape before the San Diego fight, and obviously she put on a great fight at San Diego. So I will pick Jauregui here, but nothing big. I wouldn't want to be too heavily invested at these numbers either. All right, how did we do on time? 1:36. Going to do a chat cleanup. Apologies if I don't get to technique. I'm starving. I missed a meal trying to prep for you guys to talk about the fights that are relevant. So apologies if I'm not answering the technique questions. I love answering those, by the way. Don't be shy. Ask any questions you want, folks. Highly encouraged. But and again, hopefully once this, maybe next time you guys see me, this channel will be monetized. So if you really want it answers, you really want to make sure I miss it. Again, not that I won't be prioritizing monetized questions or whatever, but knowing what a nice guy I am and how I feel bad about like not getting to every question already, I'm going to feel really bad if I don't get to questions you guys like put some ducats behind. So at least all I'm saying is at least you'll know I'll get to it then. So for whatever that is. Here's a betting related question. Michael Panza. What's up, Michael? How much do you factor in the referee when betting a fight if you know beforehand? It's hard to know beforehand. Those announcements don't get announced till the night of, and even then, it's really tough. Like certain fights, like I joke about it. Like Chris Tione was letting guys go to the death for a minute there, and then I coincidentally was betting on all the fights where he was like, he would do a standing stoppage or like. Or this or that. Keith Peterson, you really got to earn the stoppages with him, right? If you're betting inside the distance, you're like, oh dear. I mean, if you just see Dan Murgliata or Herb Dean, you're probably going to shit yourself no matter what you're betting. Sorry. Jason Herzog's in there. I'm just going to feel like, okay, my bet might not cash, but I'm going to feel like I'm going to get the fairest shot possible because Herzog's the fucking man. So yeah, I mean, it affects me, but like, how much can it reasonably affect your betting? It can't much because you don't know ahead of time. And again, you're gonna get results may vary, right? So it really is minimal if not at all. I mean, it affects your bet. It affects the result obviously heavily, but to apply it, it's not really fair in that sense. It's more of it's not really a strong two-way street. It's more of a one-way street that hurts us than helps us, in other words, if that answers your question. Spark Helder Ducote did knock out Danielle Taylor. That is right. Something that Zhang Weili couldn't do. Does that count for anything? It does. Danielle Taylor, much better than her UFC record portended, and she actually rocked Zhang Weili in that fight. I share a highlight clip of that before, I believe. So, yeah, shouts to Taylor there. I know they're usually 4 referee rotation for each card. I believe that is a rough average too, sir. Good job. Synchro Wing, does Dan have a problem with straw weight, or has your betting history been volatile? I hope you use volatile in correct context. I did use it in correct context because my betting history has been volatile. I have notably been on the wrong end in some of the worst decisions. And shout out to guys like my guy Scott Fontana of the Couchside Judges, great podcast you guys should be listening to. He does the work on these numbers, and the most split decisions, the most time the judges can't agree on rounds, dissensions on rounds to split decisions, are in the strawweight division, folks. So it is absolutely volatile and earns that descriptor in multiple ways. Not that you're challenging me, Synchro Wing, just saying. All right. Jimmy Kudo, are you excited that Clay Guida is finally fighting in front of a crowd? I mean, part of me would be, I guess. You know, like the 2009 in me is excited, you know. There goes my hero. Or are you hoping for him to retire since he's older than the dinosaurs? I don't know, man. Clay Guida, I don't even know if anything hurts that guy. I don't even know if he feels pain. So it's like he's one of the dudes who's like, you know, if they could keep glue factoring him and I don't feel anything. It's not because I hate Clay Guida or anything, but like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have that same sympathy because he just doesn't seem human. Wow, Dan. Ghost Phantom, what makes Clay Guida get up game so good? One thing I like to study is get up game since his weaponized aspect MMA. It's more just scrambling than a reliance on a particular technique. Maybe if I go back and rewatch with that in mind, I would find a particular technique and more to give you on it. But offhand, it's just his scrambling is so damn good, you know. And like Coach Neil Melanson says, scrambles win fights in MMA. And that's how Clay Guida's won a lot of his fights is from the scrambles. Submission defense is good, and that comes with good scrambling too, right? These are all things that are correlate. Makatsu Kayagoku, JSP is a fight-ready cohort of ghosts. Word on the streets is they make phenomenal game plans. I bet. You know, I'm sure JSP's a nice guy too, man. I just, you know, these young kids destroying all the older fighters, man, and you know, taking the names of older fighters, even though I believe his initials is like something different. I always just found kind of funny, but I'm sure he's a nice guy, and you know, he's a beast, man. He's an absolute beast, and so is Fight Ready, and they have great game plans there from Santina DeFranco, their coaching staff, to the fighters, and apparently the people that patron their gym as well, right? So. No hate. Does Fight Trading not factor into JSP having a big chance? I think the fact that he's fighting an old man who bleeds when you look at him factors into it more. But yes, it certainly doesn't hurt his chances. Great gym. That doesn't mean... There we go. See? Yeah, cool. Ghost Phantom keeping that same energy as me. Just because you train at the gym doesn't mean you back them. There you go. Just like Dan said, I don't rely on insider information, and plus, to be objective, you need to set bias aside. Yep, do your best to at the very least, and good on you for taking those steps. Rio Sozen, Truesdale, Tracy Cortez has massive eyelashes. Do you think the size of her eyelashes will be enough to defeat Amanda Hibash? I don't know about that. We just hope the judges aren't rocking those eyelashes, you know. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to pick on the judges here. But that's who's going to decide that fight, not the eyelashes. Are you a fan of Angela Hill? Yeah, yes. As a person, she seems pretty rad. And her fighting style is fun. Losing close decision. Are you a fan of Angela Hill losing close decisions that she clearly should have lost, but complains about the? Yeah, I stated my bias. My thing there. Again, I'm not a hater. I'm not just arbitrarily playing the middle. I'll call it out. I don't agree with that part of it. That doesn't mean I'm a hater of Angela Hill. So, you know. But yeah, I think I already answered that one. Dan, let's just say that Angela Hill gets some choice words that are rude on Drake's show. Oh, wow. So we will not be rooting for her. All right. Well, I respect that. I'm just defending myself because I always get accused of being an Angela Hill hater. Which, when I'm not. I just try to state the facts when I can on certain things. Is Emily Dakota, Synchro Wing, Emily Dakota future contender? At 115, Riggs seems high on her. I respect Drake Riggs' opinion, especially on WMMA. And I do think she's got a bright future. She's going to be having her stumbles, so be careful betting. But yeah, overall, yeah. James Kendrick, what annoys you more? Bad cards at the Apex? Or Dern getting a win over Torres when you had Torres at plus money. And a decision prop and a round robin. And she did very good work. Yeah, that annoys me more. I don't even remember what the first part of the question was because I just saw red when you guys know that. That's why you bring up Durns and Torres. I heard on Drake's Riz show that Yasmin is very good. Yep. But can Estella's pressure give Yasmin problems? Perhaps if Yasmin doesn't mix in the takedowns. Rain Lamina. Herbalicious, Merciless Dean. King of the iron-fisted finishes that should be finished sooner. Yeah, no kidding, right? He is merciless. All right, we're about a minute 45. Cleaned up the chat. I didn't go all the way back, so apologies if I missed any of your technique talk. I'm going to try to go back if I missed these as well, and if there's anything really good, I'll try to bring it back. Or if you really want it answered, please feel free to email them to me. I think that I got my email on that link tree at DanTomMMA on Twitter. DM to me if you can DM or tag me on social. To ask me those ways, and I would obviously try to make it more of a point to answer you if you're taking the time to do that as well. The time to be here, which I already appreciate. So again, appreciations. Apologies if I wasn't able to get to any of your stuff. Apologies on the fights that I didn't get to. I don't have any official even bets to recap, but I'll recap what I'm looking at as I go through my picks, albeit some of them tentative. I am taking Holland over Thompson, though this feels like a dog or pass in my heart's with you Thompson bettors and Stephen Thompson himself. Taking RDA over Bam Bam Barberina, I'm probably going to end up putting probably like a quarter, anywhere from 0.33 to a half unit at plus 400 or higher on Dos Anjos by TKO for the body shots. Fight ends by KO if you get a decent plus money there. I feel like it wouldn't be the worst bet in the world just to put something small. Nicolau, I am taking Nicolau over Schnell. No bets or hard takes on that. I want to look a little bit into that one a little more. Taking Pavlovich over Tuivasa. Hearts with tie. Just can't trust to back him. Really scared to even bet this fight. Taking Dawkins over Anders. Dawkins seems like a parlay piece, but really scared to bet this fight with Dawkins coming back so fast after a facial fracture. Probably will end up staying away. Taking Hermanson over Delize also feels like a dog or pass. Hearts with Delize in his corner, obviously. Definitely won't be playing Hermanson. Probably will just be staying away from this fight in total. But again, check my main card, quick picks, and prognostications for this and the rest of the main cards, as well as at DanTomMMA on Twitter for all my picks if they change, especially on the prelims, who I am tentatively siding with Price, but could be on Rowe. Depends. That's one you should check for. Again, siding with Ducote, but maybe I see something on Hill. Probably not. Probably stay away from that fight. Taking Holtzman over Guida. Don't think I'll change there, but it's, again, do I want to parlay or play Holtzman in a way? I'm going to peek around that fight a little more to see if I can find I need more Leonardo DiCaprio, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's, right there moments. Those are the moments I live for as a degenerate gambler. Diakese could definitely be a parlay piece over Johnson, right? Mark Diakese 0-1 to UFC Southpaws. Of course, that was Nasser Hack Brass. But if he doesn't get the Michael Johnson upset special, I think that Diakese should be able to grind his way here for a parlay piece. Maybe I take a small shot and tail my guy on the prop squad for a small shot at a giant number on Diakese by sub. Especially if I'm exposed to the parlay piece, so I can at least get one. Taking Pierce, probably not playing him over Elkins. Leaning toward Cortez, but not sure where I'll end up on that fight. Probably won't play it over Hibash. Yeah, leaning slightly over Cortez over Hibash again. Check my picks on Fight Day at DanTomMMA on Twitter. Taking Levy over Valdez, probably won't be playing it. Don't have interest in playing many of these fights. Taking Marshall as well, sticking favorites from there on out over Rojo. Taking Jaregi over Nunes. So which means, wow, am I picking any underdogs or playing any underdogs? Wow. Nope. Chalk City. Yeah, doing it right. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but we'll see. It's fucking Chalk City. I don't like that, folks. See, again, another reason why this is, I don't have good feels. I ended up on all chalk. You know what I'm saying? So it's ridiculous. All right, let's see what the last of you are saying before I get out of here. Jimmy Kudo. I will definitely email you, Dan. Yes, Jimmy Kudo. Apologies I didn't get to yours. I appreciate you, sir, always being here. It is very appreciated. Great show, Dan. Thank you, Jin Karasu. Appreciate you. Awesome show. Great thoughts and analysis. Thank you, Rio Shozen Truesdale. Appreciate you being here. Oh, man, I want to work harder for you guys. I've beaten myself up because I'm not getting to my standard. But, again, without going into the whole spiel, it's been a hell of a month. And I'm trying not to cry about it, and I'm just trying to keep pushing forward and pulling myself up with my bootstraps. But so it's hard to take full credit, but I'll take full appreciation of that. Great show. Makatu, thank you so much. Appreciate you all. Good luck on your picks and plays. Thanks for joining me. Like if you haven't already. Give this a share, especially for the YouTube version. Could use it. Thank you, Alvin Yakitori. You are very well spoken, and your thoughts are greatly appreciated. Thank you, Alvin Yakitori. Your positivity is greatly appreciated. And Samuel Negrete. Thanks, Dan. All right, good luck with your picks and plays, folks. And always protect your neck.